Well, I've got another rosette problem to solve today. I've taken on a commission for an instrument, and the client wants a rosette tile that has to be bent as opposed to ground. I'll show you what I mean here. Uh, this is a rosette tile that has been ground on the inner radius and then on the outer radius. I think I did a video on doing these quite a long time ago. They're not that hard, but it just won't suit the bill this time. What uh, what this customer wants is something like this herringbone look here, but they want it bent, and they want it not just all the way around the circle of the rosette, but they want little pieces of it. You can see I made a rough drawing here of what that amounts to. The colors are not relevant at all, but here's where these little herringbone tiles are going to go, and they're going to be intermittent around the circle. And they can't be ground because you'll lose some of that herringbone effect, and we can't have that. Well, I've made up a block like this out of layers of Podauken maple. I did a video on putting up stuff like this a while ago too, and I'll try and remember to link all of this stuff. Um, this is all easy enough to do, just gluing up layers of thin material. But now I have to cut slices off this, and I want them to be consistent because these are short. You can't just cut them and run them through the drum sander, and quite often the drum sander will tear them all up on you anyway. So I made up a way to cut several of these off and try and get them all the same thickness, or at least close enough so that I can adhere them back together and make them look like they should without a whole bunch of hassle. So I'm going to take you over to my bandsaw and show you what I came up with today. Just a little quick review from a previous video. I took a piece of plywood and mounted a rail on it. This rail slides in the miter gauge slot on my larger bandsaw. And then on the opposite side of that, I put these two rails to guide this slider, keeping this parallel with the edge of this. And this edge, of course, is where the bandsaw blade is going to hit when you slide through. So this allows me to put material against this rail and move and make a slice, move and make a slice. Pretty much the same theory as a sawmill would operate. Um, and I have two of these. This one's for my 17-inch bandsaw, and the other one is locked down or set up on the other bandsaw, so I didn't want to pull it off. The first thing I did was take one of these blocks and tape it onto this slider here. And I took a pass with the bandsaw, yielding this one strip right here. And that now is a 0 point for the bandsaw. And I needed a way to register so that every time I move, I'm going to get the same thickness piece. So I came up with this. It's just something I thought I'd show you. Maybe you can use this in your shop. What I have done is I took a common indicator, or excuse me, a dial caliper, and this happens to be a little mill vise, but you could block this thing in here and fasten it down any way you want. It doesn't need to be anything as sophisticated as this. It's just something I happen to have. But the neat part of this is that every time I make a pass, all I have to do is move the same amount, and that's easily done. The bandsaw is zeroed right now because it made this last pass, and what I have just done is calculated I've measured, I should say, the thickness of my bandsaw blade plus the thickness of the slice that I want. And by taking that sum, I can then move the slider and the indicator that particular amount and take another slice. In this case, it turns out to be 9/64 of an inch. So I'm going to take a slice, and then when I move again, I'm just simply going to re-zero the dial on the indicator and move another 9/64 of an inch. So I'm at my 0 point, and I'm going to loosen up, and I'm going to move. And this thing works out pretty well because you can go back and forth if you have to. It's not like you can only go in one direction and you may miss. So there it is. There's my 9/64, and I should be able to make my next pass and come up, reasonably the same. They don't have to be the same within thousandths of an inch. It's a visual thing, but you want them to appear to be exactly the same. Here, see how it comes out. One of the things I have learned is that with this stuff, you have to go incredibly slow unless you have a really fine bandsaw blade, which I don't happen to have. So I'm going to give this a lot of time so that I don't have too rough a surface. As I mentioned, you can't just take these and run them through the drum sander because it'll break them up. So I'm just going along gingerly here. I hope you don't fall asleep watching this, but I will get there. Each one of these little tiles that I'm making will require 2 of these strips. Lots of time. Give it time. I did a video a couple of days ago on making rosettes like this here, using a cylinder like this. And I used the same technique uh, to form these slices. And it was really important because of that herringbone pattern and those short glue surfaces. You need the support out here to bring that in. But I used the heat gun in the same process I used before. But after I pulled this into shape, just before I absolutely tightened it up, I put some super glue in this miniature pipette, and I had no wax paper or anything around here. I found that by putting wax paper in there and redrawing it back in, it created more problems than it was worth. But by using a small pipette, I was able to get some super glue in that joint very carefully, and then this released. I've kind of redone this, but I found that after all of that was done and the super glue is cured, all of this came off here, and you can see that the piece has released. And if you look at that, I'm quite happy with the way that came together. Now I did by hand refine the inner surfaces of both of those on just a flat sanding surface. I just, put them on this thing and refined them. So it really improved the look of the joinery in that. So I'm quite happy with that. Now I've done 3 different iterations of this process, one several days ago and another one earlier today. Um, and I found that this last technique that I described to you, where I warm this up and bend it and then carefully drip super glue in there, really turned out to be the best thing. Um, in these others, the inner surfaces were not quite as refined. That didn't help me too much. And I released it after I bent it with a little bit of heat. I released it so it splayed open, and then I pulled it back in to try and super glue it. And I had, wax paper and stuff in there. I don't think that helped me at all. This is really not all that nice, but this one's a good one. And there's plenty here because I'm going to literally rip strips off of this, and then they're going to be cut into segments similar to what you see here, the purple one. It'll be, about an inch long or thereabouts. So there's plenty of material here to do that. So I don't know if this helped anybody or not, but I thought I'd show you this because it's a doable technique, and maybe you can use this in your guitar making too. So Kevin Ledoux again, the Pragmatic Luthier. Uh, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you will. See you again sometime soon.